presented on the situation in Haiti, and we certainly share some of the major conclusions and recommendations. However, we do regret that this report did not sufficiently take into consideration the significant progress achieved in the country over the past 3 or 4 years in the area of the promotion and respect for human rights, the combat against corruption, improvement of governance, and strengthening of the rule of law. I would like to thank all of you who have unequivocally expressed your solidarity for the Haitian people, who has so often been the victim of incomprehension of politicians and oligarchs who are driven by petty interests. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, ambassadors, allow me to use this opportunity to reaffirm the engagement and determination of the President of Haiti, His Excellency Jovenel Moïse, to work towards achieving a peaceful atmosphere through dialogue and through working together with all the political forces, including the political parties and NGOs. Now, while we wait for the opposition to finally embrace dialogue and working together as the only way of finding a successful way out of this political impasse, the executive has assumed his responsibilities towards his people. He is committed to holding elections at all levels by the end of the year in order to renew the political landscape, restore the operation of all democratic institutions, and ensure the transfer of power to a legitimately elected president on the 7th of February of next year. The government of Haiti is perfectly aware of the extreme complexity of the situation and the concerns that it could give rise to. This is precisely why it is trying to take all necessary measures to eliminate the problem of gang violence and kidnapping and to restore security throughout the territory of the country. The police, which is the guarantor of security and of maintaining law and order, is fully mobilized for this goal in spite of its limitations and its limited resources. To achieve this, we need more than ever the support and solidarity of the international community, in particular in terms of technical assistance and strengthening the operational capacity of our national police. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, ambassadors, the socio-economic situation that Haiti is going through over the past 2 years is extremely worrisome. In addition to the recurrent political instability fueled by the Constitution of 1987, which is completely out of sync with the historical and socio-cultural realities of the country, can be added the flagrant imbalance between the branches of government that has resulted from the Constitution, that bears much of the responsibility for the structural and other problems that hinder the development of the national economy and sustainable development of the country. Now, inspired by his love for his country and in order to tackle the root causes of these problems and to provide lasting solutions, the head of state, who is very attuned to the wishes of his people and who has often spoken out in favor of a new social compact, intends to offer the nation a new constitution to put an end to this vicious cycle of political instability and thus make the country governable. That is why, following a broad consultation of the different groups among society, he issued a decree on the 28th of October of 2020 establishing an independent consultative committee in charge of elaborating a draft new constitution. Now, a part of the political class and certain other actors who in many ways benefit from the weaknesses and flaws of the current constitution, contested this initiative from the very beginning and did everything to derail the project. However, the independent consultative committee fulfilled its task successfully in spite of these headwinds. To do this, the committee based its work on the reports of the various rounds of consultations conducted between 2007 and 2020 concerned with regard to the 1987 Constitution. Now, this documentary approach has been fully complemented by hearings with the participation of national and international experts, including experts from the United Nations Integrated Office in Haiti and the Organization of American States. Now, from this important preparatory work, the result was an initial draft of a new constitution, which was submitted for comments and analysis by society as a whole on the 2nd February of 2021. As part of this effort, meetings were organized throughout the 10 administrative areas of the country. Over 800 NGOs of civil society were involved in this process. The vast majority of them grouped their comments in order to submit them to the Independent Consultative Committee. And on the basis of these criticisms and recommendations, a second draft of the Constitution was circulated on the 18th of May of 2021. The idea was to further collect additional suggestions from society before a consensual text could be submitted for approval by the population through a constitutional referendum, which was scheduled on the 27th of June. Unfortunately, the resurgence of the case of coronavirus in the country, starting at the beginning of May of 2020, led the Provisional Electoral Council to indefinitely postpone this referendum, based on matching recommendations from the Ministry of Public Health and the scientific institute in charge of managing the coronavirus crisis. A new date for holding the referendum will be communicated shortly by the Electoral Council. In the meantime, we are working overtime to move the electoral process forward. This process is irreversible. It is a guarantee of consolidating democracy, the rule of law, and the political stability of the country. The President of the Republic, His Excellency, Mr. Jovenel Moïse, and the government as a whole are deeply and resolutely committed to it. And there shouldn't be an interruption in the electoral process under any pretext. This would be a blow to Haiti and its people, and in particular for democracy, for the rule of law, and for political stability in the country. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, my physical presence at this briefing on Haiti is in order to reiterate the determination of the President of the Republic to assume his responsibility and keep his promises toward the Haitian people in their entirety, and at the same time to uphold the international commitments of Haiti. As far as the organization of upcoming elections, I am in a position to assure you that there's nothing to worry about, except for certain logistical problems and the crucial issue of security, which is being addressed in all its aspects. Now, on the organizational, from the organizational point of view, the Provisional Electoral Council has already set in motion the machinery with regard to organizing the elections. At the financial level, the Provisional Electoral Council has drawn up and submitted a budget on the organization of the referendum and the elections. Based on that budget, since the 21st of January, the government of Haiti signed an agreement with the UNDP on reactivating the basket fund, which was replenished several times from the resources of the public treasury. We're simply waiting for our international partners to live up to their pledges and provide financial support to the tune of $17 million, 17. As far as logistical issues, the Provisional Electoral Council is working in close cooperation with the UNDP and UNOPS. The sites for storing the voting material, 12 such sites around the territory of the country have been identified, and a deployment plan has been worked out. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, President Jovenel Moïse declared 2021 an electoral year. Faithful to his commitment and to his promises, he has done everything to facilitate the organization of elections in the course of this year. The electoral machinery has been set in motion. The Provisional Electoral Council has the resources needed, and the electoral process is following its normal course. Now, the head of state wants the electoral process to be the most inclusive and transparent and participatory as possible. He has therefore continued to invite all groups of political opposition to sit down and work together in order to reach a historical compromise that should produce a government of national unity that includes all political tendencies. The renewal of my mandate at the head of an ad interim government is a powerful signal of the inclusivity and openness of the President Jovenel. I will conclude my statement by reaffirming loud and clear that contrary to what certain of my friends in the opposition think, the path of transition is the path that should be avoided for Haiti. We have had many experiences with such transitions in the history of Haiti, especially in our recent history. From 1986 to 2016, the country experienced no less than 15 transition governments, including 10 just during the period 1986 to 1993. With the only results of this having been total institutional paralysis and the deterioration of the weakness of the state. Transitional regimes favor all kinds of machinations and corruption, while the country plunges into instability, poverty, and socioeconomic inequality, and struggles to get back to the path of development. Only honest, democratic, free, inclusive and credible elections are capable of guaranteeing the much needed political stability and socioeconomic stability, leading to progress in our country. Thank you very much.
I thank His Excellency Mr. Joseph for his statement. I now give the floor to SRSG Helen Lalim to respond to comments and questions raised. You have the floor, SRSG.